What's up? So this is Michah'El with YHWH Games, CEO and 3D animation director. And today we are going over how to export your character. And the objective of this video is to not only export your character, but to really kind of explain some of the differences in Unity exports versus Unreal exports. Now, I would also like to say that when exporting your character, you've got to be strategic in how you're going to do this. There are multiple ways to export your character. This is just my method, and the method that I use also depends on the programmer receiving the data. So I'm going to try to do as much of this as possible. We're going to do just a real simple export, and then I'm going to kind of explain it. So let's get into it. So really, the first thing that you want to do is you want to export your Basemesh out. Now, your Basemesh is going to be the parent object or the root object, the root character. This is the thing inside of the game engine that's going to house all your 3D animation. It's a housing for 3D animation. It has nothing to do with character customization, has nothing to do with multiple character skinning. It's a housing for animation. So part of the reason why I started out with this crummy 3D mesh is I was trying to get you guys to begin understanding on housing animation. Okay. When you export, the first thing that you have to do is you have to put your housing character or your Basemesh or your generic character, you have to put him in root mode, okay, or figure mode. This is the character in figure mode. Now, I also want to select everything. His eyes should not be here, okay? So currently I have 67 bones selected. With the root bone, there is 66 bones, okay? Notice that the footstep mode is not selected. I also want to make sure that there's nothing else in the scene. That's important. I don't even want the eyes in here, all right? So I'm just going to do an hide all, okay? I don't even want the eyes in here. They don't matter. It's a housing. It has nothing to do with visual presence, okay? So really, I've got all the bones in the scene, and I've got this unfrozen mesh in the scene. Now, you can freeze it or unfreeze it. It doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to do File, Export, and we need a location. Like, where are we going to put all of this stuff? So I should have a Basemesh folder. Okay, I'll just have to go find it. Projects, 3D. We're going to go Humans, and then Basemesh. Where are you, sir? Okay. And then I'm also going to put this, I'm going to make a folder called Export. Okay. Now, I should also make a folder called Animations. All right. That would probably be wise, and we'll put the export folder inside there. Okay. So we got export. And so this is not an animation. Let's be clear. This is not an animation. This is a housing for the character. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this sk_ch_Basemesh. Okay? It's not a hero. It's not a mob. It's not a villain. It's not a boss. It's not a mini boss. It's a Basemesh. It's housing animation. Okay. I'm glad we don't have to say that anymore. And then we're going to call this 00. We don't even need anything else underneath that. I guess we could update the Basemesh, and then there shouldn't be more copies in the scene, but we'll just go ahead and do that anyways. Okay, so SK means it's a skeletal mesh. That means it's skinned. It is a character. I mean, we can actually get rid of this too if you want. That'll be fine too. SK Basemesh. For those of you in different studios, you can do CHHM, right? He's a skeletal character male. You can do CHF. Female if you want. That's fine too. Just depends on what studio you're in. Just be flexible. Here we go. Now we got the FBX window opening. Okay. Usually the first thing I do is I drop down here and I go to FBX file format. Now you'll notice I'm using an older version of FBX. This is, for me, this is a safe place. I usually drop at least 1 or 2 versions down because I know it works. Video game engines have been using it, I mean, since way back in 2006, so you know it works. All the bugs have been worked out. It works. So I just drop 1 level down. So that's that. We have the user interface. You know, this is just FBX warning manager and generate log data, so you can deal with that if you want. Axis conversion, so by default it's set to Y up. You'll notice in 3D Studio Max it's Z up, but for game engines it's actually Y up. Okay, and notice I don't mess with it, I just leave it alone. Automatic. Okay, what about units? Currently it's set to automatic, but I never use it at automatic. What I've learned is that most video game engines like either meters or centimeters, so check with your programmer, and if you're going solo on this, I would actually recommend centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for me, centimeters. Embed media, so there's nothing to embed. I don't need lights, I don't need cameras. Am I exporting animation? There is animation in the scene, but I don't want it because it's just a base mesh, which does what? It houses animation. Okay, so in geometry, we'll go ahead and put on smoothing groups. We don't need a turbo smooth. We're going to convert dummies into bones, and we do want to preserve edge orientation, and that right there is the FBX list. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to throw me errors. Most of the time it throws errors. It's going to tell me that there's some unsupported controller in here. There's always something unsupported. It's always going to throw something. Okay, and that's it. You have successfully exported your base mesh. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and we're going to go do another one here in a minute.